from each happily ever after, every wish upon a star. Let's break down the movies that shaped who we are, from memory lane to now and everything in between. The most famous of films to the ones we've never seen. Decade by decade, all the times we laughed and cried, and with a little pixie dust, they will all take flight, reliving the feelings, and we're trying our very best. And if they mean the same to you, please be our guest. So hop aboard, we would love to have you as we hang with a certain mouth, the whole gang too. If you love nostalgia stuff, we hope this does the trick. Thanks for joining us as we deep dive the magic.
Hi, and welcome back to the Deep Diving the Magic podcast. I'm KJ.
And I'm Jeffrey. And we have made it to our 90th deep dive. Some will say that we are 90s children. And we have made it to the 90th deep dive. So speaking of the 90th deep dive, the 90th Disney feature-length film from June the 26th, 1968. It is a film called Never a Dull Moment. Never a Dull Moment is a live-action heist comedy. It is the return of the almighty Dick Van Dyke with some other familiar faces and some new faces. And it is based on The Reluctant Assassin by John Gotti. And any opening thoughts or synopsis on our 90th deep dive, Never a Dull Moment?
I had never heard of this. I did not know what to expect. But with Dick Van Dyke, I had some high hopes.
I mean, the last movie he was in was Lieutenant Caruso or whatever. So.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Anyway, so synopsis. Actor Jack Albany, who plays gangsters on TV, is mistaken for notorious hitman Ace and is hired by mob boss Leo Smooth to pull a heist, but Jack must find a way out of it.
Yeah, well, that just gives away the entire film right there in that synopsis.
Yeah. So do you want me to go over the rating, and then we'll just...
No. That does go over it all. Any thoughts or anything before we jump right in? Are you saving the trivia to the end? What would you like to do?
I can save the trivia to the end. That's fine.
All right. So, this is a heist comedy / action crime film with our friend Dick Van Dyke. So it starts off with opening credits, as many films often do. It's playing some spy movie music. You know what I'm talking about. We see some cop cars that are on the pursuit. They are surrounding, shooting, and trying to force someone to surrender. We then see up in an apartment, we see a mustached, suit-wearing Dick Van Dyke with two other gangsters. They are shooting back at the police. This is a very intense opening to a Disney film. They will not go down easily. But then Dick decides that he's going to turn himself in. He's like, you know what? I'm going to turn myself in. But the other criminal doesn't like that. So what does he do? He shoots him. So what happens to Dick? He falls out the window. The end. Thanks for tuning in. Dick Van Dyke has been shot and fallen out the window. But then, of course, with some movie magic, the camera pans out to see that we're on a film set. And Dick Van Dyke is an actor. Dick Van Dyke is playing dead. He's like underneath the window while the scene's still happening. He's like mouthing negative things about the other actors. And then after the scene, Dick Van Dyke's character, whose name is Jack Albany, he's telling everybody who will listen about how great of a performer he is. He talks about all the awards that he's going to win. He talks about the films that he's in, and he just loves himself. He wipes off his mustache, just wipes it away, and talks. And he's like pretending to win an award. He's like pretending to accept awards. So clearly, he thinks he's the best. That's our first scene. So we know that he's an actor, and that sets the synopsis of the film. Anything else? So, after they leave for filming, he is walking down the street that night. He's practicing his lines for an upcoming part that he has. And he starts to be followed by a shadowy figure. So then he sneaks into a building, and someone inside the building says that he's been waiting for him. And they start calling him late, and he's all like they're all stressed out because clearly the guy inside of the building thinks that he's someone else. So then Jack Albany admits that he's Jack Albany, an actor, but the criminal thinks his name is Ace. And the criminal that's inside the building pulls a knife on him because he's like, you know, you're not who you say you are. So then Jack decides, okay, you know what, I'm Ace. If this doesn't make me live, I'm going to, and he convinces this dude who I referring to as knife pulling guy the rest of the film. He convinces him that he's actually Ace. Anything you want to add so far that we are up to on learning that Jack is now Ace, a criminal mob boss?
Wasn't his name Florian?
Oh, the knife pulling guy?
Yeah.
I don't know, probably. I've been calling him knife pulling guy this entire time.
Because at one point, Jack tells him it's such a frilly name or something, because I thought that was funny. I think it's Florian.
It will be referred to as knife pulling guy.
I'm going to look it up.
All right. So they decide that they're late. They're late to get to the mob boss. So they drive off together to some sweet jazz music.
It is Florian.
Florian, the knife pulling guy. Mm-hmm. They drive off in the car to some sweet jazz music. Jack is in the passenger seat. He's like mouthing to cars driving by for help, but nobody's taking him seriously. He tries to convince the knife pulling guy, Florian, to stop for some cigarettes, but he just gives him one of his own cigarettes. He keeps calling them weeds. Anything so far? Nope. They roll into this like sketchy looking house. There's like a lookout guy who like puts a machine gun in their face to interrogate them, but they get past him to get into the house. We meet the mob boss, Joe. I don't know what his last name is.
Smooth.
Joe Smooth. Joe Smooth. What?
Mr. Smooth.
Mr. Smooth. There's an actor in this film.
What a gangster name.
Yeah, let's talk about gangster names. There's an actor in this film whose name is legitimately Slim Pickens. Sorry. Yes. Back to this. So we meet Joe, and we learn that Joe has never met Ace before. Jack, a.k.a. Ace, he's getting questioned by everyone. He plays the part well. He's like acting like a tough guy. He says, you know, for the sake, he calls one guy a punk, and he goes, for the sake of the punk, I'll defer the pleasure. He's just playing the part of a gangster. He's just trying, you know, he's using all his acting chops to not get caught here. So they go in now that they're going to finally go and see this Joe guy, but Joe is too busy painting because, you know, mob boss is taking painting classes. Because of course he is. It's a Disney movie.
Yes.
The painting teacher is a lovely lady. She almost blows Jack's cover because she recognizes him, but he plays the part and doesn't.
Well, she thought she.
Yeah, so he doesn't get a.
Her name's Sally.
Cool. I will be calling her the art teacher for the rest of this
Sally.
Film. So the stages continue to be set. The knife guy from earlier, he keeps like getting slapped by Joe. Joe, the mob boss, just keeps slapping this dude for fun. Talks about how he loves him like a son, but he keeps slapping him. So Ace, aka Jack, aka Ace, he's constantly looking for a way to escape. And then the phone rings, and Jack tries to answer it, but then Joe goes to answer it. So, he might get in trouble. They might be blowing his spot. But it's not. It's just somebody else. So then it goes back to more painting. It talks about more, there's more ways to escape. So then Jack, aka Ace, sneaks in to try to make a phone call, but we learn that there's like an internal switchboard. We also at this time learned that they can't give Jack, aka Ace, any booze because he becomes the Ace person, like the actual Ace person, has been they've been warned about him that he becomes aggressive towards women if he's been drinking.
Well, I think it's just he becomes aggressive in general if he's drinking, and he's also not supposed to be around any broads.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say the word broads, but they do use it a lot in this
That is
film.
what they called them.
Booze and broads, they say a lot.
And I thought it was funny because Jack was like mouthing it to himself like booze and broads, and like he was trying to figure it out. And I was like, was that not like a well-known term to
I don't
me
know. I
at
never heard
the
it
time?
until this film.
And I feel like even then, like him playing gangsters on TV, if it was just like
Mm.
something that he should have known.
Yeah, I don't know.
Weird.
Joe receives like an internal message, like a page,
Mhm.
and so he sends out Jack. The painting teacher lady thinks that thinks that Jack, aka Ace, is coming on to her.
Mhm.
So she like flips him over onto the ground. So
Did it remind you of Happiest Millionaire?
yeah, I'll get there a little bit later. Actually,
Jujitsu.
I'll get there a little bit later. They again think that it's just Ace being bad towards women because he's drunk.
Mm-hmm.
So then he goes into the room with like all the other gangsters, and of course all the gangsters are watching TV, and they're
Mhm.
watching What's My Crime from 101 Dalmatians. Just kidding. They are watching Jack's
Wouldn't it have been funny
crime
if they
movie.
were?
And it's a commercial for like Canine Crunches.
Yeah.
Canine Crunches.
That would have been
Now you know why it's my
Right.
number one film so far. But they are watching a movie, and we learn that they are watching
Oh boy.
the crime movie that Jack was in earlier in the film.
Mhm.
Uh-oh. About to be blown cover. So what does Jack do? He starts to like cause a scene, like pretend to shoot everybody. So that people think that he's kind of like out of his mind, causing them to turn it off before he can get outed.
Mhm.
Anything I missed so far?
Nope.
He meets like the who's who of criminals. We meet all these people. There's like a cowboy that's played by the Slim Pickens guy. There's like one guy whose tie is like super short.
It's the cowboy.
Yeah, I know, but his tie is like so short. Remember at our wedding when my sister Nicole's significant other had to wear his sweater the whole time because his tie was really short, and he said it was really hot. Sorry, that's a little insider baseball. But yeah, he had like a little like short tie on. Whatever.
Okay.
So I just blew that we were married. If anybody didn't know,
I don't know this man. We just met for this podcast.
that's right. So whatever, he's just trying to like play the part. He's like shaking people's hands, but they're like squeezing super tight, like almost like breaking his hand.
Mhm.
But they begin to plan their next heist. And would you like to talk about what they're trying to steal?
They are trying to steal. Gosh, what was it called?
Field of Sunflowers.
Oh, Field of Sunflowers. I thought it was Day of Sunflowers, but that wasn't correct. Anyway, so it's this large painting of
40
sunflowers.
40 feet long.
And it was painted in 3 different parts.
Mhm.
And he explains to them, this is not something that you can just like steal off the wall and stick it in your pocket and run out. It's the size of like an
40 feet.
entire wall.
Yeah, it's 4 basketball hoops.
And they're like, why do you want this?
It's worth 600 G's.
But
But
it's one of a kind. So
yeah.
it's like, if you take it, they're going to know you stole it. So why do you want this?
Because he wants to die famous.
Yes. When he dies, he wants people to know that he's the one that took it.
That's right.
Anyway, did you look up how much 6Gs was?
600 G's? No. I don't know what year this film was. I could have gone by the year it was released, but
Okay.
sorry, I was busy taking notes. I had to pause this a few times to catch up on notes. So the art teacher lady who had left earlier to get dropped off by knife pulling guy,
Florian and Sally.
But they returned because we learned that knife pulling guy actually
Drove into a tree.
drove into a tree and crashed the car. So then, of course, Joe just slaps him because, of course, he does. But she sees the slides for the field of sunflowers, so she starts asking questions.
She gets so excited. She's like, "Oh, the field of sunflowers.
Um,
Why are
so
you showing this?"
so then Jack, aka Ace, is like, "I'll give her a ride. I'll give her a ride," because he's trying to escape.
Mhm.
But they're like, "Nope, there's no car, so she has to stay the night." Dun dun dun. They cannot let her go, and they're not even sure if they can let her live because now she knows so much. And then,
Yes, because once the painting starts going away and it's gone, people are gonna know.
so then Jack, aka Ace, is like, "Well, what am I doing here?" And they're like, "Well, you're the meanest killer there is. This Ace guy is the meanest killer there is. So he is there to take care of the guards." So then they ask him how he's going to kill them, and he has to think on his toes to come up with ways. He's like, "I'm going to rip out their guzzard," or whatever he said. I forgot what he said exactly, but like, like he had to like think quickly on his toes.
Yes, I think he actually made up a few terms because it was close to like correct medical terminology, but it wasn't quite the right word.
So then Jack, also trying to think quickly on his feet, decides that he's going to sneak some booze because he already has that like they already think that.
Well, at that point, I'm pretty sure
drunk.
he's nervous, so he's probably like, "I need something."
So then, but then they stop him, but then he pretends to be like super, super drunk, and they take him upstairs to sleep it off. And he tries to escape, but the front door is guarded. He finds the switchboard and attempts to make a call, but he has to pretend to be drunk again because he got caught. The back door is guarded by a dog, some big dog, I don't even know, some angry dog,
kind of like a Great Dane or something.
Whatever, he acts his way into finding out where the art teacher's room is, but he accidentally enters like a different lady's room who's married to Joe, and she's all dressed like nicely dressed. She's like a former actor, and he has to like she's all about him. She like wants him to like drink more with her, but he has to keep pretending that he's drunk to try to get out of it. Anything on this? Did I miss anything about this lady? But then the art teacher sees him and again blames him for living up to his reputation that he's a drunk womanizer. But really he's just trying to get out and trying to get into her to ask for help. So what does he do? He sneaks out onto the window, onto a small little ledge with a very angry dog underneath. We're going to talk about the window ledge in this next series of events.
He's walking through the ledge. He has to walk by that lady's window again to get
Joe's
to
wife.
the other window. So he's like trying to make sure that she's busy and not looking out the window, and he sneaks by the window. All the while, the dog is on the ground barking up at him. And before he went to her room, he had made a trip to the kitchen and was acting like he was hungry while he was supposedly drunk.
Because he was trying to sneak out the back door.
Yeah, and then grabbed a few dog biscuits. And then he, on the ledge, started to throw the dog biscuits to the dog to make the dog be quiet.
Do you think that he did that on purpose? Because I actually just put two and two together because he was like pretending to eat the dog biscuits because he was pretending that he was drunk.
I figured he did because he had ran out and he had heard the dog. So I'm assuming that he did that
foreshadowing
on purpose.
I did not take into consideration.
Yeah. So he threw the biscuit, and then he ended up getting to the lady's window that he needed to, but he had to keep
the art teacher.
Yeah, the art teacher, and then he kept throwing biscuits to the dog. And I'm sitting here thinking, buddy, anybody that knows anything about dogs knows you have to break those things in multiple pieces. Otherwise, they're just going to eat it and be done. And of course, he runs out.
So he does summon the art teacher, but she's creeped out and doesn't believe him. She doesn't believe his story. He's like, "Well, you've seen me on TV." And she's like, "I only watch documentaries." And he's like, "What do you mean you don't know me? I'm a famous actor." And nothing. So she's creeped out, doesn't believe him. He slips off the ledge, but he grasps on for dear life in a very typical way that you would think in the movies where someone just hanging on. She helps him up, but he then has to hide again because the wife lady goes into the room. And then she catches him creeping, which causes the art teacher to again not believe him because again he's just living up to what he's what they say he is. So again, he has to, like, while on the ledge, he has to pretend to be drunk. So then Joe gets him inside of the house and puts a guard to make sure that Jack doesn't leave his room.
The butler.
The butler. Up to date.
Mhm.
So while this dude is locked in his room, the doorbell rings.
Mm-hmm.
And who is it? It's the real Ace Williams. Would you like
Didn't
to talk
see
about,
that one
would you like to,
coming.
would you like to talk about the real Ace Williams?
He's a very interesting looking man.
If you thought I had big eyebrows.
And then, yeah. And then I thought to myself, that's interesting because you're supposed to keep him away from booze and broads. But you tell me what broad's going to want to go hang out with him.
He just had this giant.
He was a very scary looking man.
Yeah. Well, he's a known killer, right?
I guess.
So Jack makes like an escape by asking for water, for some aspirin, from the guard, the butler, or whatever. But then he gets caught by like the knife pulling guy from earlier.
Florian.
And he tells Jack that, I'm sorry, Ace, that Joe wants to see him. So then who does Joe introduce Jack, aka Ace, to? The real Ace Williams. And somebody says, we have a pair of aces and we need to discard one, which I thought was a pretty clever pun.
Mm-hmm.
Be funny if they wrote this entire movie around that, just the entire character, just for that one line.
Well, do you think it was even funnier when Jack said, no, you've only got one ace and a joker.
Yeah.
But isn't there also a Jack in the card?
Yeah, but he didn't want to admit what his name was at that point. But yeah.
But isn't there a Jack in a deck of cards? Yeah. So do you think that's how the guy that like wrote the book named him Jack?
Maybe.
Jack Ace.
This is where I wrote that the real Ace has the longest eyebrows. They are both trying to tell stories and play the part of who is who. Mm-hmm. So they decide, and of course they do, and there's no other way to prove this. They're going to put them both in a room. They're going to lock the door, turn off the lights, and the real survivor will be the real Ace. Because, of course, there will be no weapons of any kind. Jack tries to reason, but that's not going to happen. So we were in this room. They can't see each other. They're just walking around aimlessly. And then right before the real Ace can attack Jack, he is attacked from behind by the painting teacher to save Jack. I'm kind of confused by this scene. So can you tell me why the painting teacher just decided to do that?
Because she was trying to like get away. So she was hiding. She was trying to sneak downstairs, figure out how to get out of the house. She's trying to run away. And I thought it was funny because Jack asked her, well, how did you know to hit him?
Because of his eyebrows.
And she says, well, it's pretty obvious which one wasn't the professional killer. An umbrella of peace spreading, because he just kept talking about like, listen, we don't have to do this. Yeah. Like, we're both two sensible gentlemen. Yeah.
So then at this point, now she believes his mistaken identity. But Jack, aka Ace, opens.
Do you think she was believing it before, or do you think she really started believing it when the other Ace showed up? And then she's like, oh, maybe he wasn't lying to me.
But Jack opens the door to prove that he is the real Ace. Mm-hmm. Which then gets the actual Ace locked in the basement, so that way he's not one to like give up the ghost per se. So then Jack sneaks out of his room again, but he bumps into the sneaking out art teacher who's also sneaking, and then he randomly just admits that he's in love with her. Like, they just like shoehorned this in, I feel. She's like, oh, do this on me because I saved your life. But whatever. So now there's a love story.
I've never been in love before. He said, I've never been in love before, except with myself. I've got goosebumps all over.
Dude, homeboy loved himself. He tells her about the painting heist plan. But then whatever, he gets caught by like the actor lady. And then another man comes in with another one of the criminals comes in and like, excuse me, sorry. Um, excuse me, I'm allergic to this movie. So another dude comes in while Jack, aka Ace, is talking to like the movie star lady who's married to Joe, and like gets into like an argument with her. He calls her property. I hate that. I hate that so much. I just hate that whole thing. I'm happy that we moved on as a society from that. Clearly, he's an awful criminal. But cuts to the next day. I just hate that. I think it's awful.
I just think it's funny. You're like, clearly he's an awful criminal.
Yeah.
Well, isn't a criminal typically awful?
Well, then he's an awful criminal. Does that make sense then?
Okay.
But the next day has arrived, and then the day of the heist is here. They've attained the catering truck. I don't mention this earlier. They're going to pretend to be caterers.
Yeah.
But Joe's going to go to the gala because, of course, he is. So they've attained the catering truck, but back at the house, the art teacher is also trying to escape. She sneaks into the switchboard, but every single like thing she calls, and every single time she moves the switchboard, it's just calling into the same house, so it's not working. So there's a bunch of lines, and they're all ringing. Then she gets caught by the guard, like the butler dude, and then she takes him down with her happiest millionaire jujitsu skills. That's why I said I was going to touch on it a little bit later.
Well, this is the second time.
Yeah,
the second person she's hit with these skills.
She escapes out the front door, but she's running from the guard. But then she runs back into the house because she can't get out. Of course she does. So she decides that she's going to turn on everything. She's going to crank out the music. She's going to open every door.
So that way it blows a fuse and turns the power on.
Yep. So then she opens the stove. She opens the fridge. And she turns every appliance on, which kills the fuse. It blows the battery. The power. The battery. So it cuts back to the gala. And Joe's playing his part. The criminals are acting like caterers. One of them pulls out a gun, and they're like, whoa, we don't need a gun. They show the guests the field of sunflowers. Joe is sitting there in awe. He's like still looking at it even after the reception. Like somebody goes up to him and is like, hey, like this has ended. It's time for the criminals to act. So Jack, aka Ace, has to go out and he has to take care of the guards. Like that's his job. So he goes out to take care of the guards, but he's trying to like whisper to this guard about the plan. But then, at the exact same time, randomly, the guard just drops to the ground dead, much to Jack's shock. And he just decides like this is too much. So what does Jack decide to do? He decides to beat up one of the other caterer criminals. He tries to like stick a hand in his pocket and pretend that he has a gun, like a finger gun, which obviously only worked in Blackbeard's Ghost. For those that are,
it worked for a second.
Yeah, but in Blackbeard's Ghost, it worked wonderfully.
Well, I mean, it worked for him for a second until he blew a hole through his.
Yeah. So then this big like slapstick hijinks chase ensues, and so like he's just running away. He actually runs up to another guard, and what does that guard do? Also drops dead. Jack is clearly an unknowing, effective criminal. More slapstick hijinks in the chase involving mannequins and masks and sneezing, like I just did. Someone trips over a large hot dog, which is also from Blackbeard's Ghost. They get on this like spinning piece of art that like looks like it they mention it in the trivia. I forgot what it was, but like they're like on this spinning piece of art that kind of looks like if like the Astro Inverter from Disney World was like inside of a building.
Okay, yep, I can see that.
And like it's just like every single thing is spinning some other way.
Yep.
So then like they're all spinning on it, trying to get away from each other. So then Jack takes out his lighter to like turn the sprinkler on, like an old-fashioned sprinkler fire panel thing, which causes everybody to get soaked. So then Jack's going to run away. So he sees like this like hallway, and he's running to the hallway. Want to talk about what happens here? So he's running full force into this hallway.
He's making his getaway, trying to run as fast as he can to get help.
Yeah.
And does not realize that he is about to run straight full on into a painting and does,
It's a painting
and
of a hallway.
falls down, and then he goes, "Oh, that's a good one."
Yeah. So he's about to get attacked by the caterer criminals, and the police show up.
Yeah.
So it cuts out of that scene after the police show up and
Mhm.
stop the ruckus. So that cuts to Joe, and Joe sees the getaway truck has arrived, and
Mhm.
he's all excited.
He's got his painting.
And to his excitement, Jack, aka Ace, jumps out to show him the piece of art.
Hmm.
And he opens the truck, and it's a random piece of pop art. Said,
Yeah, he said the guys and I thought that you don't really want that other painting. Like we thought you'd like this better.
"Yep." So
And
it's
he's
just
like,
like a
"You
random.
thought."
But then, out of the painting pops the cops who accost him.
And then he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about.
eh.
I don't know why he's here."
So the cops accost him. And at the same time, the art teacher lady, she runs over to embrace him, and the media takes the pictures, and the police thank him for playing his part, making Jack decide that, hey, pretty good at this. I should call my publicist. And he calls his publicist because, of course, he loves himself, and then he leaves hand in hand with the art teacher at the end.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Now, before you go, I have questions.
Okay, go ahead.
I have questions, Disney. Who called the cops? How did those two security guards just randomly drop dead? And what in the world did we just watch? Back to you.
I'm pretty sure that the power went out at the house finally because we did see that. And then we never saw them again. So I'm assuming she got out and got help.
Okay, that
And
answers
called
the
the
first
cops.
question. Did she also call the? Did she also kill the security guards?
No. I think they had freak heart attacks from being startled. And I think one had a heart attack or stroke. I don't know. Because he kind of was just standing there. He never like looked at Jack. He just kind of like fell forward. And then it made it look like Jack did something, but he didn't. And then the other one like literally grabbed his chest like it scared him to death. So I'm assuming they had freak medical problems.
And then my last question is, what did we just watch?
I don't know. So maybe I can answer that better when I get into some of the trivia and facts that I found about this movie because
Dick Van Dyke did wonderful in this
I was
film, by the
also
way.
very
As an actor,
confused.
it was great.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that I did not like hardly any of the movie except for the hijinks in the museum. I felt like that saved it for me.
Mhm.
Was definitely not one of my favorites. But interestingly enough, it was re-released as a double bill of a re-edited version of the Three Caballeros in
A
1977.
double feature, like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, so they re-released it. I don't know why they would have put it with the Three Caballeros, but they did. Like you said, this film stars.
That movie's still on your
I
list,
know.
by the
That's
way.
why I was like, "Don't you steal my thunder."
Keep going.
Anyway, so like you said, this film stars Dick Van Dyke as Jack Albany. He is a struggling actor who is mistaken for a hitman. His comedic training and physical comedy were a big draw for his family audiences at the time. This is the third feature for Dick Van Dyke.
Yep, we discussed that already.
His first movie, obviously, was Mary Poppins,
which is on my list.
Yep. And then Lieutenant Robinson Crusoe, USN, which was not on either of our list. And his popularity helped make the movie a lighthearted hit among fans of Disney live action comedies.
Yes.
Like you said, it was based off of a novel. But the film took on a more comedic slapstick tone than the book did. Edward G. Robinson was famous for his gangster roles, plays the mob boss, Leo Joseph Smooth. And it was a nod to his earlier film, Crime Rolls, and His performance is a full self-parody and plays with his tough guy image. Classic Disney ensemble cast. It featured several other well-known Disney
we
regulars
discussed
like
that
Henry
earlier.
Silva and Slim Pickens, which
Yeah.
you just loved the name Slim Pickens.
Dude's name is Slim Pickens.
And they were both characters in westerns and comedies from before.
Yeah.
It was mostly filmed in Disney Backlot in Burbank, utilizing various repurposed sets and locations used in other productions, which I thought was kind of cool because they were able to like recycle some of their stuff. And then it was a genre blend. So I guess to answer your question, that's what we watched.
Yeah.
So it somehow brought comedy and crime and mystery together, making it a blend of slapstick, mistaken identity, light thriller. It was, I guess, supposed to be like a family-friendly gangster satire, and it was part of Disney's strategy in the 60s to create family-safe versions of adult genres. So
Yeah.
that is what we watched.
So then, importantly, what did we rate it? What did we think?
So IMDb gave a 6.1 out of 10.
You know that when you enter your like ratings into IMDb, it actually changes the ratings. But go ahead. What did you rate it?
I rated it a 5.
Yeah, you're on like a 5 streak.
I know.
Yeah. So then we already know that this is not going to blow its way onto my list. So does it blow its way into your list?
Mistakenly, no, this did not get mistaken to my list.
Well, then we've made it through 90 films. So 90 films, and we are almost done with the 60s. What is your list upon a star?
So
through 90 films.
My list upon a star is 101 Dalmatians, The Parent Trap, Sleeping Beauty, Dumbo, The Jungle Book, Lady and the Tramp, That Darn Cat, The Three Caballeros, Moon Pilot, and The Shaggy Dog.
Yeah, that's your list for sure. So my list.
What's wrong with my list?
Oh, nothing. Nothing. Just have Moon Pilot on it instead of Peter Pan. That's okay. So my list upon a star. No, that's fine. I support it.
That's fine.
I support it.
Sure.
My list upon a star is 101 Dalmatians, Mary Poppins, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, Babes in Toyland, Pinocchio, Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, From the Beginning, Sleeping Beauty, and The Jungle Book. So, what is your list upon a star through 90 films?
Does it compare to ours? Do we have some of the same films?
Have you ever even seen 90 Disney films? Have you seen these 90 Disney films?
I'm pretty sure that we've probably watched 90 Disney films before these.
Oh, I mean, yeah. We've seen most of these. We've seen all of them now. But either way, a couple things. We are on Spotify. We are on YouTube. We are on Instagram. Big thank you to Mr. Andy Has a Band for our theme song, which we'll be hearing shortly. You can email us, let us know your lists, let us know if you're shocked that we got to 90 as well. If you believe that Dick Van Dyke's mustache was real in the beginning, but whatever, deepdivingthemagicpod@gmail.com. But on our next film number 91 from December of 1968, it is a film called The Horse in the Gray Flannel Suit. Will it live up to the lore? We'll find out next time.
Thanks for deep diving the magic.
Bye.
Bye.